on Mount Hood in 1986. On May 11, 1986, a group of 15 students from an Episcopal High School in Portland, Oregon, embarked on an ambitious expedition to climb Mount Hood. Accompanied by 5 adults, they set off in the early hours of the morning, eager to conquer the majestic peak within the next 12 hours. Little did they know that this adventure would turn into a harrowing tragedy, marking one of the deadliest alpine accidents in North American history. Mount Hood, standing tall at 11,249 feet, 3,428 meters, presented both a magnificent and treacherous challenge. Its icy summit was an otherworldly sight, captivating and dangerous in the eyes of many climbers. For these young adults, scaling this mountain was not only an educational experience, but also a test of their teamwork and problem-solving in harsh environments. It was an opportunity to grow, as founder Kurt Hahn of Outward Bound once emphasized, by helping one another in times of danger and preparing for such situations. The months leading up to the spring of 1986 were dedicated to rigorous training for the students. They learned essential snow climbing techniques, from ascending and descending to self-arresting during falls and providing basic first aid in the field. Equipped with all the essential gear, carabiners, harnesses, slings, crampons and first aid kits, they were ready to face the challenge ahead. The journey began on a bright yellow school bus as the students, laden with their gear, eagerly took their seats. It would take them approximately 90 minutes to drive to Mount Hood. During the bus ride, they familiarized themselves with the adults who would serve as their guides. Thomas Gorman, the 42-year-old chaplain and Episcopal priest, led the group, accompanied by Marion Horwell, the Dean of Students and Student Affairs, and Sharon Spray, one parent, accompanying her daughter Hillary. At Timberline Lodge, their last stop before the climb, they met the final members of their party, an Outward Bound instructor and Ralph Summers, a seasoned professional guide. Before setting off, they were issued ice axes and helmets, ensuring their safety during the ascent. Finally, the group of 20, consisting of students, parents, a priest, an administrator, and guides, began their climb with determination and excitement. However, unbeknownst to them, only 11 of them would return, forever changed by the tragedy that was about to unfold. What went wrong? Why did this expedition turn into a disaster? These were the questions that haunted everyone in the aftermath, but finding definitive answers proved elusive for a long time. On May 12th at 3 a.m., the group left Timberline. The weather conditions were relatively mild, with temperatures above freezing. They trudged through calf-deep snow, close to the tree line at 6,000 feet. Darkness enveloped them. The forecast for Mount Hood was unfavorable, with a severe storm with strong winds and heavy rain predicted. Despite this, Tom Gorman, the group leader, assessed the conditions and believed that they could still safely complete the climb before the worst of the weather hit. Tom Gorman, widely respected as a leader, had made practical decisions and shown his expertise on many previous climbs. He was a beloved figure at the Oregon Episcopal School, known as Father Tom by his students. However, Joel Shallett, a senior who had been part of Gorman's climbing team, had noticed a streak of recklessness in Gorman. Shallett recounted a previous expedition where Gorman demonstrated a rather risky maneuver by diving off a cliff multiple times, resulting in injuries. The observation raised some doubts about Gorman's judgment. As the climb progressed, a few individuals began to worry about the deteriorating conditions and the wisdom of pushing on. One student, Hillary, and her mother Sharon, decided to turn back due to Hillary having a stomachache and their lack of confidence in completing the climb. At Silcock's hut, 2 more students wavered, and eventually 4 members of the group decided to descend. Unfortunately, the weather took a turn for the worse shortly after their departure. Ralph Summers, one of the guides, questioned whether they should all turn back, but Gorman believed they could still reach the summit and then safely descend. Against reason, they continued, unaware of the impending nightmare that awaited them. Around 2 p.m., Summers realized that the conditions had simply become too perilous to continue. The group was above 11,000 feet and were being buffeted by strong winds. He managed to convince Gorman to change his mind, but by then it was too late. The Pacific storm arrived in full force and the climbers found themselves in a dire situation. At 3:30 p.m. below the Hog's Back and with visibility reduced to about 20 to 30 feet, 6 to 9 meters, the group encountered their first problem. Patrick McGuinness, the youngest climber at 15, started showing signs of cold-related distress. He struggled to speak coherently, staggered, and eventually collapsed, overcome by exhaustion and an overwhelming desire to sleep. The situation grew worse as the storm intensified. The students rallied together, using their limited resources to protect McGuinness. They placed him in their only sleeping bag, while senior climber Susan McClave crawled inside with him, sacrificing her warmth to keep him alive. They also provided hot, sugary water to replenish his energy. However, time was running out and their options were diminishing rapidly. With visibility reducing to less than 10 feet, 3 meters, and winds growing stronger, the group pressed on. However, their compass had been set 20 degrees off course by Gorman, likely due to fatigue and the freezing cold. Instead of descending, they were unknowingly traversing the face of the mountain horizontally. Conditions were very treacherous, inducing vertigo and making every step hazardous. Realizing the dangers of crossing glaciers with deep crevices, Summers decided to dig a snow cave for shelter. By 7 p.m. they'd carved out a small cave at an altitude of 8,200 feet, where they sought refuge from the relentless blizzard. This cramped space, measuring about 6 feet by 8 feet, 1.8 to 2.4 meters, with a height of only 4 feet, 1.2 meters, would become their temporary sanctuary. 13 exhausted individuals squeezed inside, huddling together for warmth. Inside the cave, conditions were harsh and claustrophobic, with a dwindling air supply causing some panic. The group fought to keep the entrance clear amidst the freezing winds. Tragically, essential items were lost. Summers decided to leave the cave for help, but she headed in the wrong direction. Meanwhile, search teams who'd set out to find the students battled treacherous weather and limited visibility. On the second day, Allison, Aaron, and Eric's lifeless bodies were found. A helicopter retrieved the fallen climbers and confirmed their deaths. A miscommunication led to false hope when warm oxygen was prepared, increasing the grief of the waiting families. Despite resistance, Master Sergeant Richard Harder organized his own search team and found one survivor, Bree Clark. Eventually, all surviving climbers were rescued, but the tragedy claimed the lives of 7 students and 2 staff. The community and families were engulfed in grief and were seeking answers and started to assign blame. Coping with loss became a long process, and the Oregon Episcopal School suspended its base camp program. The tragedy left a lasting impression on everyone involved. The disaster on Mount Hood in 1986 serves as a very solemn reminder of the unforgiving nature of nature sometimes, the need for preparedness, and the importance of making sound decisions in challenging environments. It stands as a tribute to those who perished and a testament to the resilience of human spirit in the face of tragedy. If you like this video, please give it a like and share it with your friends, and if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and make sure to press the bell icon so that you will always get the very latest from us.